morning. Okay. Welcome to June 11th HR Business Services meeting. So we'll get started today at 4:31. We have no guest presentations for this meeting, so we'll move on to departmental reports and we'll start out with human resources. So we'll just generally go through the human resource report. We again like to see where we have more certified and non-certified hires than we do for retirements, resignations, or leave of absence. So we're continuing to make sure that those positions are filled. HR is currently working on preparing the non-renewals for certified staff, and they are also attended a job fair for the Duluth Career Force on June 5th, and they were able to talk with potential candidates for their non-certified positions that we have available. They've also been working with Duluth Career Force, where they're focusing on interviewing and assisting people to apply for our non-certified jobs on the spot on August 12th. They've also been to other career fairs, the mini-series career fair with Career Force on Carleton County. That was in May 24th, and also they'll be attending another career fair on the 25th of July, August 27th, and September 26th. In these fairs, we're really looking at promoting our non-certified staffing positions, especially our bus drivers and our bus helpers. As we look at the transportation report coming up, we can see that we have applications for our bus helpers, but we have no new applications for bus drivers. We also are focusing on those maintenance positions, paraprofessional positions, and food service worker positions. Currently, our benefits department is working on processing retirements, calculating healthcare savings plans, and assisting with benefit enrollments for this year's retirees. In addition, the department is hosting a free physical therapy consult for the DSC building employees on Monday, June 10th. So that was yesterday. And all changes and rate updates for open enrollment are going to take place July 1st, meaning employees see their price changes in their June paychecks, so the paychecks for this month. So currently, for our 2024-2025 school year, we have posted 146 certified openings and we have 106 filled, and that's great to see this time of year having those positions filled for next year. As far as our contract negotiations, we're so excited to announce that we have a tentative agreement with the Education Directors Association, and we'll be bringing that to the board meeting next Tuesday. We're also in continuation of negotiations with our clerical unit and our National Conference of Firemen and Oilers. We will be negotiating with our National Conference of Firemen and Oilers on July 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. The clerical unit will be June 24th, July 1st, and the 8th, and our district-wide Instructional Administrators Associations have not requested to negotiate yet. They're still waiting to, they just haven't requested to negotiate yet. Do we have any questions on our HR monthly departmental summary report? Yes, Henry.
Sure, thank you.
Oh, Member Banks, excuse me.
It's okay. My name is Henry too. So, now, what is the HR doing with regard to recruiting in communities of color? I know they do specific things at Juneteenth events. What else are they doing within BIPOC communities to recruit for jobs and share those opportunities that are available?
I know that we've done some recruiting at specific BIPOC career fairs. We've also done recruiting work at some of the powwows, the Juneteenth situation or the Juneteenth events that you've addressed. I think there are a couple of others, but they don't come readily to mind, but those would be a few examples of the type of things that we're trying to do. And go ahead. I was going to say that I think it's important to, like we said, that sometimes we're hiring for the other support type positions, but of course, just because sometimes some of the more informal type settings allow for that. But of course, if we have experienced people that are interested in teaching positions or other positions, that we're also very much looking to establish the relationships and hire there as well too.
Okay. And so the reason I asked that is of those efforts, how many people, or statistically, what percentage of BIPOC people are actually doing the next step and applying for those jobs? I don't know, maybe you don't have that here, but it'd be nice to know.
Yeah, I think Teresa could probably provide more information there. Quite often we do get several applicants at those types of events, and that's good, especially because, I mean, yeah, I wish we had tens and dozens of applicants, but those are oftentimes high need, hard to fill positions. And to have any applicants sometimes for those positions where we feel lucky, and we're also trying to increase the diversity there. I think another thing we try to do as well is think about those as kind of lily pad positions where people can start in a certain position and then move on to something else. You know, like myself, I started as a teacher, paraprofessional, and then became a teacher, and then became an administrator. So we want to make sure that once we open a door, we're also trying to give people career ladders to move within the organization and move to other levels of employment as well.
Right. And I'll add two other pieces that we also have been really strategic in sending job postings to various organizations where we know African American and American Indian candidates might be. We not only send through an e-ad, but then I know Teresa has several other groups that she also sends information to. We've also tried to broaden our scope of reach by posting items through Facebook that is far-reaching as not just past Wisconsin, but also in other states as well. Just trying to expand our reach, especially in administrative level positions. With the principalships, for example, we have 2 principal positions that are still open, and those interviews are happening. But we try our very best to make sure that we reached out to broaden our market to attract candidates of color, make them aware of these positions. So we are doing those things. And then last couple of things, the one other thing we add is we have also, as you may recall, we've applied for a couple of different grants for diversification of staff. You know, we were not successful in getting one, but we are still always looking for grow your own, or I forget what it's called, come teach in Minnesota, or something like that. A grant that also was a grant that was meant to attract candidates of color to teach in Minnesota. So we continue to apply for those things when they present themselves.
We've also started in the past year or two affinity groups for individuals, because making sure we retain people is important. A lot of times organizations recruit BIPOC candidates, and they might apply and they might get hired, but they might not stay for a while either, because they might not feel that the culture is supportive and inclusive. And so we're trying to increase that scaffolding around people to make sure that they know that we care about them as whole individuals and not just employees. And so I think that sometimes people say recruiting is, or retaining is the new recruiting. And I think that we have to think about it that way sometimes too.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that.
Could I? Yeah. Okay. Just wanted to thank you for your questions. Those are really good questions. And thank you for the information. Just wanted to add to, this is only one little story, or connection that I made in the last week or two, but there's a principal and then a teacher of color so the principal was able to, this teacher was a student teacher, and the principal was able to convince this person to stay on staff and then get hired. And the person was actually intending on moving back to where they lived, and then that principal was able to retain that person as a teacher in our district, which was great. Just one story.
Yeah.
I know we need to do better and we need to get our numbers up, but thank you.
And I would also say, Member Banks, when Executive Director Severance came on, they did a bunch of remapping of how applicants and applications move through the process. And I think when she did all that work, there was a special eye to look for equity and inclusion to make sure that we don't have processes that are barriers to people of color trying to come into the system. So I know that the district did that as well. And I think another interesting piece of information might be that we could talk about once we get the budget passed and all that, is looking at when we get these candidate pools. We did a lot of this work at Scholastica. We get our candidate pools in, and does the candidate pool, as we move that candidate pool or those candidates through the process, as those numbers are getting smaller, are they still reflective of what the candidate pool came in? So if we have, let's just be optimistic and say we have 50 people applying for a position and we look at the different percentages, then we would have an institutional problem if we came in and 100% that moved on to the next would be all white, as opposed to making sure that that is flowing through the process. So I know that we've done a lot of work to make sure that to drop those institutional barriers. I'm sure we still have them, but I think we have an eye for dropping as many institutional barriers as we can, and then using data to make sure that we are putting our money where our mouth is, and that we can say, okay, according to our data, we can show that we're dropping these institutional barriers. So I think that would be a great thing for us to look at later on, is what does that process look like?
And not to belabor it further, but one of the things when they looked at that process of how can we make sure that the hiring doesn't unfairly because of unrecognized biases doesn't exclude people. We've also Anthony has worked with Human Resources to make sure that we have diverse representation on every hiring committee, and hopefully we'll have a diverse enough staff where just having staff representation will represent diversity, but because we don't yet, we have a pool of people that are committed to serving on hiring committees to make sure that we have diverse representation on each of the hiring committees. That doesn't fix everything, but we're trying to take steps in the right direction.
Did that answer your question, Member Biggs? Okay, thank you. Is there anything you'd like me to follow up with Director Severance, or you? If there is, I can reach out to her or whatever.
I can do it.
Okay, all right, thank you, Member Biggs. All right, moving on to our business services, we'll move on to enrollment report, and I'm very excited. Executive Director Zunich, would you like to introduce our new?
I do. Yes, I would. So this is Phil Paulson, who's our new MARS coordinator. He's also an EdFi analyst, education finance analyst, and he's also on a committee with MDE, so he's got a good background, and he was previously with ARC for several years, and then the Proctor School District. So we're very excited to have you on board.
And
So,
can you share what does a MARS coordinator do? Because some folks may not know what a MARS coordinator
Yeah,
does.
sure. So MARS coordinator, we ensure that all the students are accounted for and reported to MDE. That's kind of the main focus of our work. Yeah, counting all students.
Welcome, we're thrilled to have you here.
I'm happy to be here.
So I won't ask you to do this all by yourself the
Okay.
first time. Okay. So we are following the same process with the 3 reports that are sent out to principals and school board. We give you by site, by grade, school attendance or enrollment, excuse me. And then we also bring it in by month by site. And we also have it by grade by month. So we have it in 3 different ways. Right now, it looks like our enrollment is averaging at 8,081. We had budgeted for 79,85, so we're up. So we're very pleased about that. Year to date, we're down 239.16. But Phil, can you explain how the enrollment / attendance changes in this month in May and June? Because these numbers will change.
Right, yeah, so we're still working on getting all our year-end data into the system, so that'll still bring up some of those numbers. And working on early childhood is a big one too, where attendance and membership still needs to be put in there, so.
Okay, so what happens now, as with finance, we won't be bringing to you at our monthly HR business services, our budget summary, nor will we be bringing any enrollment information. We'll start that up again in October. And then at that time, Phil will be able to present some somewhat final numbers, but it could take another year almost before we get some actual numbers, but, okay? All right, good job, Phil.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Scary group.
All right.
Are there any questions on the enrollment report? All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Jill.
All right, thanks. Have a nice
Thank you.
evening.
And welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
And now we move on to our child nutrition report. We have, I believe is this week, we begun serving summer meals.
And, it came up before about only students that are enrolled will be served. That was a typo. I spoke with Sheila Oak. All children will be served meals this summer.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's good, but
It's
too
excellent.
bad that, yeah.
Yeah, so, and it's been, there's been a newsletter that's gone out, it's on their social media as well. So all children this summer will be able to come in and have breakfast and or lunch.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's great.
And I believe our sites are Denfeld, Piedmont, Myers Wilkins, Lormac. I'll have
And
to.
there'll be a Congdon too.
There'll be a Congdon too. I'll
Yes.
make sure before the full board meeting that I look up where those sites are.
They're not at Lowell because of our construction.
Because of
work.
construction,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
There was some concern that I believe came to a board member about the YMCA programs that we have with the Key Zone. And why was there maybe that we weren't able to serve food at one of the Key Zone sites, and that was because they selected school sites that were not able to provide meals. But they knew ahead of time that that was the situation. I'm not trying to throw Key Zone under the bus.
No,
But that was a conscious choice that they made, but it wasn't something that we were choosing or not choosing to do. We just weren't able to do meals. I think it was Homecroft was the site, but they wanted to have programming there, and so they decided to do Key Zone.
Also,
And it
there's
was-
some schools that are under construction right now, so
Yes.
don't allow for Key Zone.
Right.
Right,
True, too.
that's another factor.
but it was communicated with that Homecroft that there would be no meal served there.
And I have a follow-up question though for, community partners, whoever they may be, that are maybe serving our most at-risk, most in-need families who have a hard time securing food for their families. Is there any way for those agencies or organizations to partner with the district to pick up bag lunches? Because it's really hard for some families to get to different sites. I mean, I know we're doing a really good job, like having multiple sites. But like, I'm thinking about maybe organizations that really have a focus of a collection of youth at their site. I can think of a few, I won't name organizations or places, but,
Let's follow up with Sheila again on that question. I know it was asked and it was not, we're providing meals to all students or all children in the city of Duluth. So,
exactly, yeah.
as far as getting the meals to those partners, I'll have to inquire, but I will get back to you on that.
We do know that if an organization can get the kids to the meals,
Yes.
we can serve them, but we
Yes.
also realize that doesn't really help.
And staffing is an issue and et cetera. I'll follow up.
And I know there's food safety around transportation too.
Yes.
I understand that, but I do remember, I probably will ask it every year. I don't know. I think I did ask it last year.
Yeah.
Probably forgot now, so thanks for looking into
We'll
it.
get back to you. Okay.
Some time ago, I asked a question about the food bank relationship, if there was a relationship with the district. And I haven't received an answer back on that. I haven't been here, so I don't know if that had been.
There really is not a relationship, because we have so many strict guidelines that we have to follow. They have to be prepared just so in a certain kitchen, and has to be, the cleanliness level is like, and we can only buy foods from particular vendors,
Okay.
because they have to be USDA approved and school approved and everything. So the answer is no, we don't. Sorry.
Well, I thought the food bank was USDA approved.
Yeah,
but
it's
I don't
not
know
a
that,
partner
so.
for Sheila or for food nutrition right now, but
Okay.
I will follow up again with that question as well.
Yeah, I'm just
Things-
curious,
things
because it seems like
change.
that could be a good fit.
Yeah. With food nutrition right now, they're changing regularly, because we know for sure we hope to get our lunches paid for the next 2 years. Beyond that, I can't answer it.
Oh, sure.
But how about before the cow on Thursday? I'll have both answers for you. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Member Banks, are you thinking it, I'm just curious for my own edification, are you thinking about it in terms of like how we get meals to more kids in our community, or what are you thinking about the relationship with the food bank?
So I'm thinking because the food bank, you can purchase certain items, at an extremely discounted rate,
Mhm.
like pennies on the dollar, as opposed to full price.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of relationships
Okay.
I'm thinking about.
Thank you. We are happy to announce that Child Nutrition applied and was selected again for an FFVB grant for Myers Wilkins, and this grant is in the amount of about almost $22,000. And this program is developed to allow students a sampling of fresh fruits and vegetables that they might not get at home. And so Myers Wilkins, through their community liaison there, applied for that grant. And so we're very excited for students at Myers Wilkins in that grant. The health department came in and all their reviews of our kitchens are complete for 23-24. Each school has a certified food protection manager and received two reviews a year from MDH, the sanitarian, and all reviews passed satisfactorily with no follow-up visits needed. So that is excited. And if any of our community members are interested in what those visits look like per our health department regulations, those reviews are available at the school sites to review and also online at the child nutrition page on the district website. So do we have any questions for child nutrition? Awesome. Okay. Moving on to facilities. We are so excited that we have the clock at Denfeld is working and it looks great. Uh-oh. What do you have?
I'll let the
I don't know if I should
superintendent
say
speak.
this in a
I'll let the
public meeting,
superintendent speak.
but the people who came to set the time
Yeah.
set it on Eastern Standard Time.
Is that, okay.
But we have thought that maybe that would be an effective way to get kids into school on time, because if they thought if it was an hour fast.
Or scare their parents at drop off.
Yes. So
You can't make this stuff up.
we're working on fixing that little anomaly, but it is, I mean, if we just a brief amusement.
That's awesome. So at the DNT building, the remediation was completed on May 24th, and so renovation meetings have resumed. They're working on the Lowell projects. The Lowell Elementary exterior and window construction project was canceled and has not been rescheduled. The interior will most likely be done through the district's T&M contracting. The materials for the pool renovation at Lincoln Park have arrived. So that's exciting. They've already got the installation of the new sand filters, motor, strainers, pump, and chlorine dispensing systems. The transportation building expansion, that is, the scope development is done and we've signed off on that. And then the low loading dock exterior wall repair is close to a settlement with Kemp's. And we have Streetar Masonry will do the interior brick inspection before signing off on the extent of the work. Our facility staff, as usual, is working very, very hard to make sure that the work orders are complete. And I'm trying to think. Oh, of importance is the operations staff is gearing up for summer maintenance projects and building deep cleaning. We are still working on finding licensed positions. Most of our custodial positions have been filled. Operations are continuing to look for an engineer 2 position at Lowell and Myers, second shift engineer position at Lincoln Park and Ordine, and a second shift engineer at Lakewood, Lormac, Lester Park, and a custodian 1 at East and at Denfeld. Audits and inspections, an automotive hoist at Denfeld needs to be replaced. That's been ordered and installation has been scheduled. IEA did radon testing at all the school sites in February. 2 rooms are slightly over the action limit, 1 at Denfeld, 1 at Congdon. Follow-up testing will be conducted via Minnesota Department of Health guidelines. Our retest passed, so that's great. And then we have some fire code corrections at East. And it looks like everything else is proceeding. Do we have any questions for our facilities department report? Did I get everything? Any questions? Awesome. Moving on to technology. Bart, is there anything, would you like to talk about what we have going on in technology?
Yeah, I can start off with cybersecurity. Our Gmail, we received 1.5 million email messages that were accepted, delivered in May. 127,000 were rejected, 57,000 went in the spam folder, 6.8 were identified as phishing, 35 were identified as suspicious attachments, and 7.5 thousand, or 7,500 were identified as spoofing. And just recently, last week, we also had real phishing that went out to 170 users. Only 4 people actually clicked on it because it was some about, the attachment looked very legitimate, but once you clicked on it and looked at what it was asking people to log in with their credentials. So it was really trying to get their credentials out of them. But we were able to retract all that from 170 people. Went farther and put their credentials in, but we had all the people change the passwords who did click on that. So stuff does get through.
And Bart, you said nobody entered their credentials, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we
That's
checked
good.
with all 4 people, and we had them change their passwords just as a precaution, and yeah.
Great.
So that's good news on that. Our accounts are actually going down. We'll see a big drop because all the student accounts have been disabled this week, today. The passwords are being changed. We're waiting for the blended learning forms to come in, and once they get turned in, then their accounts get active again for the younger kids.
Oh, yeah. I missed that email.
It's in Parent Square.
We have 2 parents in the room.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, right now we have 11,000 roughly accounts. I would imagine, next month's report will be like 8,000 less than that.
Yeah.
So then our storage is at 26 terabytes. File sharing has gone up a little bit as well at 205,000. Suspicious login attempts was down. Failed login attempts was pretty much the same as last month. And our data loss prevention was less than last month at 72. For E-rate, we have no bids out right now, but we will be going out for our wide area network internet services in the coming months once E-rate opens up the window. Our help desk tickets were 392. New ones were created, 446 were resolved, 150 remain unresolved at this time. Still working on remaining projects with CDWG in the boardroom. They wanted to come up actually today to work in the boardroom all day and then have the meeting, but there was already a meeting. I said we can't do that, so they're looking at July 2nd. Some of the stuff works really well. We didn't have any issues the other day during our meeting, but we had issues that last month. We used to live stream, we just had the audio. I've tested it since then, and we had audio and video, but they want to look at it again because it's just sometimes it's just working. And I know it seems to be related to when we lose power in this building over the weekend or something like that. It kind of like resets it or does something to it. So they want to look at it again. For the summer projects, we have the bid, I talked about the E-rate bid, which is 1316 network infrastructure. Oh no, that's where we're installing our switches, sorry. That was last year's bid. We're installing our network switches district-wide, so we'll impact all the buildings minus these 3. We'll have downtime associated with that. We're still waiting to receive the Chromebooks for our students for next year. Our Dell desktops are in. We're starting to deploy those this week on that. In Rockridge, the equipment went out to Rockridge, the smart boards, finished smart boards, AV upgrades for Rockridge. Facilities actually just moved them out today to there, and they start next week. One other project that just became aware of this last week is the Bloom team who installed all their smart boards. They're going to come around and do a safety inspection because we noticed some of the set screws weren't all the way in some of them. So they're going to actually inspect all of our boards, all our classrooms that they installed in the last 2 years to make sure they're all those screws are set and everything's in there for a sticker on them that they were inspected. So.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions for Bart today? Thank you, Bart. Now moving on to transportation. Departments are working on summer routing and getting ready for the rollover for the next school year. For staffing, we have 2 applicants for helpers, but we have no new applicants for drivers. and Joe has been working diligently with the routers to ensure a smooth running office. Our oldest bus is model 2012 and the next oldest is 2014. Mileage for this month was not taken, and we're getting closer to our goals of 50 to 60,000 miles per an average for our buses. Is Voyager having problems getting bus drivers?
It's the same issue everywhere, yes. And they will be speaking to the committee of the whole on Thursday.
Yeah.
I do understand that several area school districts have recently significantly raised the rate of pay for their bus drivers. And I think we need to consider what that looks like, but it's complex because our bus drivers are part of a much larger bargaining unit, the facilities maintenance.
Is that the facilities maintenance?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I think that it's hard to give that same percentage raise to everybody, and even though we would love to give everybody a very healthy raise, so we'll have to consider how that affects them.
And we increased bus driver salaries a bit ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
I don't remember when it was.
It's been a couple
A couple
years.
years
A
ago.
couple years ago, was it?
Yeah.
I had a follow-up question just about how our new, has it been 2 years now that we've had our new bus technology system, like for planning all the routes? Or was
This
it
is our
just-
first year.
This was our first year.
It
so
was
in the fall.
purchased in December of '22, and then we just implemented it this school year. We have weekly transportation meetings with the manager, supervisor, and routers, and our Infinite Campus support and business system support, so that's Danielle Dorn and Nate Kinsey. So we have at least 8 people at the table once a week. And then last Friday, we had a 4-hour process mapping session. That was our 4th one this year. So we have dug deep and have been very intensively working on the transportation software. They've come a long way. We have high hopes for the back to school. And they've already done a rollover, and now they're working on summer school. And the next piece, once we do the summer work, will be actually using the system for field trips as well.
Nice.
So getting rid of the forms that everyone has to fill out. So, everyone feels very confident.
Good. I know it's always hard when you switch over a whole system like that.
it
And
was.
so I appreciate everyone's hard work
Thank you.
on that. And it's just nice to know there's been follow-up. We know there was a few bumps at the beginning, but
There
that's
were.
great.
There
Thank
were.
you for your
We've put
efforts on
in
that.
many hours trying to work on this, and also a reminder, food service is now getting a new software effective July 1. But that's already intertwined with Infinite Campus, where this system was different. And so when they said new software in food service, I started to break out in sweat. But they assure me it's way different, so.
And I'll chime in too, thanks for that question, because we recognize there was some problems. And we're optimistic things are gonna be much better. Not only the staff that Simona has indicated, but we also had enrollment staff there as well through that mapping process, just trying to figure out like how do we get students in the system sooner so that we can get them routed sooner, so that parents and the students can be made aware of their bus and how we communicate their routes sooner than later, so we can avoid the last minute enrollments and all of the things that have to happen once a student enrolls late. So we're just trying to get ahead of the game and avoid a lot of the ongoing things that have happened over the last few years. And we know it's not a good introduction to our school district if the bus routes are not pushed out soon enough. But again, Simone and her team has been working really hard to get ahead of that process so that we can avoid and hopefully minimize issues in the fall.
And Jeremy Casapidis, the transportation manager, and I will be meeting with Adele Wellens on Thursday. We spoke with the superintendent. I haven't told you yet, Anthony, but we're looking at putting a letter together from the district saying, hey, if you have transportation this year, you'll have it next year. Most likely, if you're just advancing a grade, but not moving like from 5th to 6th. that you'll have pretty much the same bus number and, you know, make sure you contact your site. So we're going to initiate some kind of communication, either at the end of, probably the beginning of next week, just to let people know that we're thinking about them,
Yeah,
so.
I really appreciate that. As a parent, I
Yes,
can
too.
say,
Yeah.
and a board member, I guess I can just say, that is a way we've improved our systems,
Yeah.
which is one of our strategic plan kind of pillars. I recall years where I didn't get my kids' bus number or route until I dropped them off at school to drop off their supplies at elementary. Now, it's been a long time because my kids are
That's-
older, but it's just really great. Thank you.
That was one of the biggest pieces we worked for in the transportation mapping, is how we are going to communicate that information. So we've really mapped that hard. So this will be just a general, like, hey, you know, we know you had transportation, you're getting it next year. If you don't need it, we'll tell them who to contact, but yeah.
And I think that this dovetails with transportation. We had such a great year last year with Duluth Transit and the bus and the free ridership for our students, and that is a real loss for our students. But I'm glad to see we are still going to keep the radius to where we're busing to where it was moved previously, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And I understand why, and I'm not casting stones, but it was great for our students and our staff to be able to use that.
You're talking about the DTA?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, hadn't got
Do you want to talk about it, or?
Yeah.
That we met with them, or?
I mean,
Okay.
but you were talking about for our own radius. right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna maintain that radius that we implemented within the district to
Yeah.
ensure that more students have access to our transportation.
Yep.
And unfortunately,
Good.
we did send some communication out related to the DTA partnership. Unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to move forward as a district with the DTA's partnership. So we did send some communication out to families and staff on the 6th, letting them know June 6th that ended, and so.
And that was
Yep.
400, average ridership of 400 a day.
Yeah, close to 500 a day, and, which is significant, and it's obviously, students were taking advantage of it, and it shows a need, it's just resources,
Yeah.
the lack thereof, so we can't move forward with that one.
So I wonder, you said we can't move forward with it because of financial reasons, right? So I know when the DTA does the Thanksgiving transportation part, there are community partners that pay for that. It seems that if something's working exceptionally well, how do we figure out to bring community partners in to continue it? I mean, it seems like.
And that's our goal. I mean, that's one of the things that we added, I'm not sure it was added into the memo that went out, that if there are community partners who would love to partner with us on this, that please reach out to us. And so we've had one entity that reached out to us. And when we say reach out, and partner, we mean fund it. Right? We're looking for them to actually fund it for us fully, and we'll partner with them on that. And so if individuals are aware of who we should reach out to, if you're aware of an entity that is willing to take on this endeavor, please have them reach out to us. We would love to do it if they can fund it.
And this isn't a decision we made lightly because it was very successful. However, the cost that would be entailed is significant, and since there isn't additional federal money that we use for the pilot, this would cost hundreds and hundreds of thousands more for us to do each year. And with a $7 million budget deficit and looking for $7 million of reduction, it's hard to say, and we're going to reduce by another $400,000 or $500,000 because we want to keep this going. I wish we could do it.
Is it
We all
really
wish we
that
could do it.
expensive?
Yeah.
It's expensive.
Yeah, you had talked about the estimate beforehand.
It's our contract that is presented tonight for Voyager Bus, and they will come and speak to the committee of the whole. It's millions of dollars, millions, to have a partner with them to help us. So it is a lot of money, but when Anthony and I met with the DTA, we had a face-to-face meeting, and we said, if you hear of anybody, we'd be happy to, they'd love to partner with us. It was great for them as well. So I think, and they understood they're, have their own restrictions as well right now.
Oh, yeah.
So if something comes up, we will definitely look into it.
Because I know years ago, the district had that relationship, and it went quite well, but, I don't know how expensive it was back then. Obviously, prices and everything goes up, but it seemed to be working. Obviously, it was.
They said it's about $1.20 a ride. So it
One
Dollar
way.
20.
Yeah,
Some-
one way.
In some communities, the transportation department or transportation authority will do it as a means of promoting future ridership, because if younger riders ride,
Yeah.
then when they become adults, they think about mass transit differently than they would had they not had those experiences. And so sometimes in those communities, it's been something that is seen as like an investment by the transit authority. But in this particular situation, I think the city is tight on money too, and
Yeah.
so they have a hard time doing that at this point.
I was just thinking about kids that miss the bus, they have that opportunity to jump on a DTA bus to get to school. Yeah,
And after-school program.
and after-school program.
And so that's gonna be
Huge.
missed too.
Yeah.
It really opened the doors, for those who don't have reliable transportation. Even going to work, especially
Yeah,
as high schoolers, some jobs,
Yeah.
some work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunate, and again, John has hit on it. We wish we had the resources.
Yep,
We would
I
do it, we just financially cannot afford it.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Great, we'll move on to our recommended resolutions. The first is our adoption of our fiscal year 2025 budget, and we will be having a presentation of the budget by Executive Director Zunich at the Committee of the Whole meeting. So we will be diving into that this coming Thursday, and then vote on the budget in our meeting on next Tuesday, on the 18th. And I believe in that information that you have in the Committee of the Whole, you talked about the process that we went through the budget. So do you just want to remind the committee as just the number of times we've met and talked about the budget?
Yeah, so the time we met in April, we began with some small group meetings to review our process and a 5-year analytics and how we're getting to our numbers. I did a first reading May 7th at the Committee of the Whole, so that's on board book. And this will be the second reading. The first reading was maybe 8 or 7 documents. This is gonna be 26, I think, we're up to. So it'll be a fun hour of a lot of numbers.
She gets so excited, she snorts when it comes to budget.
Talk about it for hours.
We appreciate
I
how
could.
well you explain things
Yeah,
and leave
okay.
opportunities
Thank you.
for questions and
Yes.
dialogue.
Thank you.
And I feel very prepared to go into that meeting with the knowledge that you've given us so far.
Thank
So
you.
thank you.
I'm glad.
So we will have that resolution at the full school board meeting on Tuesday. We also have a resolution for an acceptance of donations to the Duluth Public Schools, and we can look at this in more in depth, but we have a lot of great donations for the wellness fair, for unity in the community, which I love seeing we're gearing up for already, and the debate teams as well. So we have some great donations coming in from our community that we always appreciate. We also have the 2024-2025 resolution for membership in the Minnesota State High School League for Denfeld, and that was signed by, is this one? Yep, by Mr. Pearson. And then we also have a resolution for membership in the Minnesota State High School League for East, signed by Mr. Reed. So those will be the resolutions that are coming forth from the HR Business Service Committee for the full school board meeting on Tuesday. What we're going to have on our consent agenda is our HR staffing report. We also have a job description for a Safe Routes to School coordinator. Is this, connect with Director Severance, is this job being retooled, or is it
This is a new job.
Okay.
We were fortunate enough to receive
That's
a
right.
grant
that's
to
right.
fund this position, and so as a requirement of the grant, there's a coordinator position that's needed to fulfill the roles and responsibilities. And so it is fully funded out of the grant for the next, I want to say, someone, can you recall, is it 3 years or 5 years?
It's 3 years
3
at
years.
250,000, yeah.
Great.
So we're really excited about that because, again, it's all around safety, and we're pursuing this because we know that there's, just like we talked about, transportation and just having, encouraging families and students to take safe routes to school and using other means, bikes and, skateboards, and just have safe passages to school is important. And so that's why we pursued this grant, and we're excited to have it in the district. Right now, Condon Elementary School really is the furthest along with the use of such a position or such a endeavor with safe routes, but now it's going to be something that we're going to explore district-wide. So how can we improve safety for students getting back and forth to school?
And we did some work with Lincoln Park for safe routes to school for some walking, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah, that was last year that we looked at that.
I can't recall.
We
But
were
I
in the
remember-
other building
Yeah,
when we were,
It was in the last 4 years, I remember
For
that.
which building?
Lincoln Park, was it last year?
Yeah,
We did that work for
Yeah.
walking at Lincoln Park.
the years
They blend
are so
together.
beautiful, they blend.
I
They do. It was the last 4 years, I remember.
I know because we were in,
Hawksville.
no, we weren't in Hawks. We
Oh,
were
UHG?
UHG, yeah, that's where we're at. And then will this position also help coordinate some of that access to federal funding so we can see if there aren't some more money we can get to improve those safe routes to school? I didn't look through the job description that closely, or is this just encouragement?
Encouragement, but it is
Okay.
to continue looking for resources as well.
Okay.
Because there's a component of partnerships, because again, it's great to have a coordinator to help identify
Yeah.
things, but then we need to take it a step further with partnerships with the city and others to help, do redesigns of areas, such as Lowell, right?
Yeah, well, in Lincoln Park.
Lincoln Park and other places where it's pretty, a lot of caution is needed for students to get, and families to get back and forth
Yeah.
across busy highways and busy streets. And so there's a lot of coordination of efforts, and this role is meant to help
That's
create those
great.
partnerships.
All right, so that's great. So job descriptions, and then moving on to finance, we have our financial report. And again, Executive Director Zunich, should you say this will be done for now and then we'll resume these reports in October?
Correct.
Okay.
Be potentially September, maybe,
Potentially, okay.
for the budget summary. Only because now our audit work will begin
Yep.
on July 1. We've already received our letter 3 weeks ago from the auditors saying, hey, we'll be here August, September, and October. And so Sheila Stevens, our finance manager, will take the lead on the audit, and she's already starting to prepare for it. So it's a lot intensive work that will start to happen.
Great. So moving on to our fundraiser reported, we will be doing Chipotle will be hosting a fundraiser for Unity in our community, and I think I saw when that date is. I don't remember when it is, but have we already had it, or are we gonna have it?
It's happening.
In July.
It's in July, okay, I'll find out. I'll find out that date so we can plug that during the meeting. All right, moving on to bids, RFP and quotes. We have some bids here. The RFP 321 is a district-wide annual inspection and service to boilers. Any comments on that? Okay, RFP 322, electrical labor, high voltage and low voltage. And then we have RFP 323, district-wide glass replacement services. And then our RFP 327, and we can look at that one on page 34, right? And that has to do with Voyager bus transportation. And again, as Executive Director Zunich said, they will be presenting to us at the Committee of the Whole meeting on Thursday. Finally, we have RFP 328, crack, fill, and seal coat. And then we look on some quotes. Quote 4393, district-wide annual inspection and testing of fire alarm systems. quote 4394, district-wide annual testing and maintenance of sprinkler systems. So those are the RFP and quotes that we have for this month. Moving on to, this is starting on page 43 and ending on page 62 or 61, we have our Voyager bus contract. That's under our contracts. KY Interpreting Services, FY24 on page 42. And then KY Interpreting Services, FY25. Soilient Services, am I saying that right? Soilient? Soliant? I was thinking Soilient.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I was like, that's an interesting one.
How do I say it again, Brett? Soliant, thank you. Soliant Services for FY25, and then a change order for the Duluth News Tribune building remodel of some additional services. And then, moving on to page 79, we're looking at our expenditure contracts. And then page 194 is our no-cost contracts. That's the one I like the best. And then even more, page 202 is our revenue contracts, which are even better.
Revenue.
So those require no actions for us, but we need to review them and have them in the public record. Do we have any questions on any of that information? Any questions? What are the KY interpreting services? What are those?
I believe that's the
Is that sign language?
Yeah, for special education.
For special education?
I know Director Crane and Assistant Director Thurston have said it's very difficult to fulfill those positions, so we have been contracting for several years now with Soliant, and they're very happy with their services.
Are they? That's great. That's great. All right, I don't have any other questions. Do we have any questions anywhere else? Well, then that concludes our HR Business Services meeting at 5:24.